The rain had been falling for hours, turning the quiet streets of Maplewood into winding rivers of water and reflection. Most people had retreated, indoors, their windows glowing with the soft light of evening, but Daniel remained outside, his hooded jacket barely shielding him from the downpour. He was a man of habit, and every evening, no matter the weather, he walked the long way home. From the high school where he taught history, it was his time to think, to let the day's worries dissolve into the rhythm of his footsteps and the sound of rain on the pavement. On this particular evening, the town felt different. The air was heavy, not just with the scent of wet leaves, but with something unspoken, a tension that seemed to press against Daniel's chest. He passed the corner bakery, its closed sign swinging in the wind, and the old oak tree where children played in the afternoons. The streets were empty, save for the occasional car splashing through puddles. As Daniel turned onto his street, he heard a faint cry, almost lost in the storm. He stopped, heart pounding, and listened. There it was again, a desperate, muffled plea for help. Without thinking, Daniel followed the sound, his shoes slipping on the slick sidewalk. The cry led him to a narrow alley behind the coffee shop, a place he rarely ventured. There, huddled against the wall, was a man. He was soaked to the skin, his clothes torn, his face streaked with blood and rain. For a moment, Daniel hesitated. In Maplewood, people were wary of strangers, and trouble was something best avoided. But the man's eyes met his wide with fear and pain, and Daniel's resolve hardened. "Are you all right?" Daniel called, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. The man tried to speak, but only managed a weak groan. Daniel knelt beside him, ignoring the cold seeping through his jeans. He checked for injuries, nothing life-threatening, but the man was clearly in shock. Daniel shrugged off his own jacket and wrapped it around the stranger's shoulders. "Come on," he said gently, "let's get you out of the rain." With effort, Daniel helped the man to his feet. The stranger leaned heavily on him, barely able to walk. Together they made their way to Daniel's apartment above the bakery. The climb up the narrow stairs was slow, but finally they reached the small, warm room that Daniel called home. Inside, Daniel settled the man on the couch and fetched a towel. He worked quietly, cleaning the cuts on the man's face and hands. The stranger watched him with wary eyes, flinching at every sudden movement. "Thank you," the man whispered, his voice hoarse. Daniel offered a reassuring smile. "You are safe here. My name is Daniel. What is yours?" The man hesitated, as if weighing the risk of trust. "Ethan," he said at last. Daniel nodded. "Ethan, do you want to tell me what happened?" Ethan looked away, his jaw clenched. "I was attacked. I do not know who they were. They took my bag, my wallet. I tried to fight back, but there were too many." Daniel listened, his mind racing. Maplewood was a quiet town, not known for violence. He wondered if there was more to Ethan's story, but he did not press. "You should rest," Daniel said. "We can talk more in the morning." Ethan nodded, exhaustion overtaking him. Within minutes he was asleep, his breathing slow and even. Daniel watched him for a moment, then retreated to his own room, leaving the door ajar in case Ethan needed anything. That night, Daniel lay awake, listening to the rain and the distant rumble of thunder. He thought about Ethan, the fear in his eyes, the bruises on his face. Who was he? Why had he come to Maplewood? And why did Daniel feel such a strong urge to protect him? The next morning, the storm had passed, leaving the town washed, clean and glistening in the early light. Daniel found Ethan sitting at the kitchen table, staring into a cup of coffee. "Did you sleep?" Daniel asked, pouring himself a cup. Ethan nodded, "Better than I expected." "Thank you, Daniel. I do not know what would have happened if you had not found me." Daniel shrugged. "Anyone would have done the same." Ethan smiled, a sad, knowing smile. Not everyone, most people would have walked away. Daniel did not argue. He knew Ethan was right. In a town like Maplewood, kindness was often reserved for those who belonged, and strangers were met with suspicion. Over the next few days, Ethan recovered slowly. He was quiet, keeping mostly to himself, but he helped Daniel around the apartment and even ventured out to the grocery store once or twice. The townspeople noticed the new face, and whispers began to spread. Who was this man living with Daniel? Why was he here? Some said he was a distant cousin. Others suspected something darker. Daniel ignored the gossip, focusing on helping Ethan heal. But the rumors grew louder, and soon even Daniel's colleagues at the school began to ask questions. One afternoon, as Daniel and Ethan walked home from the store, they were stopped by Officer Harris, the town's police officer. He was a stern man, respected and feared in equal measure. "Daniel, can I have a word?" Harris asked, his eyes flicking to Ethan. "Of course, Officer," Daniel replied, his voice calm. Harris pulled him aside. "Who is this man? People are talking. They say you are hiding something." Daniel met the officer's gaze. "His name is Ethan. He was attacked the other night. I found him in the alley and brought him home." Harris frowned. "Did you report the attack?" No, Daniel admitted. Ethan was afraid. Harris sighed. "You know how things are in this town. People do not like secrets. If you are hiding something, it will come out." Daniel nodded, understanding the unspoken warning. As he and Ethan walked home, he could feel the eyes of the townspeople on them, their whispers following like shadows.